Hey everybody, my name's Democracy and we're back with more Blood Souls bosses. With only a few videos left to go, the bosses are only getting better and better. Let's dive right in with number 54. Some of you may be surprised to see the Asylum demon this high considering my disdain for the copy-paste brethren, but I've got a lot of love for the OG demon. Going from the Demon Souls tutorial where I got slaughtered by a boss that felt like you weren't intended to beat to the task of actually topping the game's first boss to escape the Asylum is a big part of what makes the experience so memorable. Sure, the boss himself isn't the best design in the series by any stretch of the mind, but it gets the job done for new players and is well tuned for the early game. The lore concept of the demon being placed to either prevent the chosen undead from escaping or even as a test of their strength is also pretty neat. And of course there's the whole gate mechanic that throws a curveball at the player. It's definitely a great opening to the game and I was happy this blueprint was repeated later in the series. Maybe I have a thing for early game bosses, but I think FromSoft just did a great job at tuning a lot of the game's first bosses. Either that or I just remember my first boss in each game quite fondly, because even though I can effortlessly slaughter the Cleric Beast today, he was a decent introductory challenge to Bloodborne in my first playthrough. I really applaud the design because the boss doesn't feel as fast or aggressive as Amelia or Gascoigne, so it's nice to have a boss that can ease the transition for those coming from a Souls game. And that entrance is pretty badass. It's a shame the beast doesn't have much lore, but there was a lot of speculation before the old hunters that this thing could have been Ludwig or Lawrence, which would have given the fight a lot more gravity. Though as it is, I still feel like it's a great battle. I don't really know why, but I just like beating this monster's grotesque crystal leg worm things. I think it might have something to do with how frustrating I found the Duke's archives in my first playthrough. I funneled all of my frustration into this hideous amalgamation of failure, which feels pretty good knowing this coward who betrayed his own kin got his jollies by kidnapping women for experimentation. The result? Boring ass bosses like the Butterfly. When he wasn't doing that, he was supposedly knocking up Guinevere. I don't even want to know the details of how that night went down. I dare you to Rule 34 that on Google. Nope, too spooky for me. This is a damn great fight. These gargoyles were the true originator of the gank boss, and it was done in a cool way with the second coming halfway through the battle. Their design overall is pretty awesome, the arena is precarious in a good way, and the difficulty is pretty on point. My one big issue is that these ass goblins spend so much time flying away and doing nothing at all! It kills the intensity of the fight and is just plain boring when there's only one left. But to be fair, it also adds some much needed relief when you're being double teamed. As it goes for many of the Demon Souls bosses, this fight would have been much more fun with superior design. Fortunately, FromSoft felt the same way. Been a while since we've seen a Dark Souls 3 boss, eh? Well, cracking the top 50, we've got Bitch. Yeah, I'm not messing around. This dude made me so damn salty in my first playthrough. That arrow attack was the bane of my recklessly aggressive playstyle. With more experience, I now realize it's best to run away from the attack and be patient, but there was some alarm popping off in my head saying, "You can tank it, just go, do it!" Oh. Even though it can easily be dodged, I just find attacks that basically one-shot you for being too aggressive kinda lame. He does have cool lore about devouring gods such as Gwendolyn, but I guess I expected something a little more epic as an homage to the previously epic bout that took place here. These guys are all, yeah, let's gang up on this dude, can't wait to see him freak out from our bone arrows. Oh wait, he's kinda tough, let's call dad. Ho ho ho, looks like we got a challenge. I can't help it, I get really worked up for this fight, though it's not the best battle design-wise. I hated these stupid mana rays that polluted the Shrine of Storms, and having to deal with a bunch of them is kind of annoying. The Storm Ruler makes up for it and then some though. Getting to swap these little buggers in the boss is such a thrilling experience. There's a lot of risk involved, but it's so satisfying striking them all down with slices of wind. Man, there are a lot of people that hate on the Bloodstarved Beast. It's easy to see why. I mean, what's fair about a boss that can poison you near instantly? Then consider the fact he's quick as hell and we're in the aggressive world of Bloodborne and you've got a recipe for disaster. But I still have a heck of a fun time slaughtering the beast. Parries are satisfying as shit to pull off, especially staring a beast in the face as it's ready to slash you to shreds. There's just something so badass about that. So yeah, maybe the poison is a bit bullshit, but once you master parrying this ugly critter, you can have a ball fisting its face. Alright, this fight is just okay. In fact, I don't really have much to say about it. It's standard Dark Souls 2 warrior with a spear type enemy. At least I can give it a little credit for the poison mechanic, but overall it's just criminally average. The lore adds a ton to it though. MYTHA was well known for one thing, her astounding beauty. So much so that one man ate himself to blubbery demonhood over it. For MYTHA though, the only man's heart she wanted was her husband's, the king. The king didn't care much for her vanity though, so what should MYTHA do? Poison herself endlessly in an effort to get more beautiful? Wow, you're a good guesser. I mean seriously, what the fuck? Is this some sort of new fad diet bullshit? Just poison yourself until you turn into a Medusa monster. So weird, but it's more tragic irony and I consider it a worthwhile service to put her out of her misery. FLEXILE Sentry is one of the few bosses in Dark Souls 2 that felt really fresh to me. Having symbiotic twins with differing mechanics is a fantastic idea that was executed really well. There's also the terrifying lore about the Sentry being called into the wharf via the bell to pick up and transport the hollowed souls to the Bastille. And if the fight drags on, the water around you will slowly build up, making movement more challenging. Due to this, you're pushed into an all-out aggressive strategy, which you guys know I love. My grievance is that the fight just isn't very hard. Sure, you can take some hits if you're overly greedy, but there's more than enough time to heal up. For that reason, this is without a doubt a boss concept I'd like to see refined and repeated again in future Souls-likes. I talked about it some in the Defiled entry for this great one, but I really enjoyed the design of this fight. I like the multiple strategies you can employ that have varying amounts of risk and reward, such as damaging the legs for minimal damage but low risk, or taking the beast on from afar and baiting its attacks. It's a shame the lore surrounding it is such a mystery. These amygdala creatures seem to be everywhere and are masked depending on the amount of insight you've obtained. That and the absolutely annoying as shit area that precede this fight lead me to dock AMYGDALA out of a higher rank. This is yet another boss that suffers for its location and lack of lore. In fact, if anything, the fire nature of this beast feels like a Dark Souls nod more than anything else. And the Defiled dungeons are bullshit, but other than that, this fight is damn near flawless. Maybe the only other complaint I could have are that the hitboxes are a little bit wide on the bite attacks, but they're well avoidable with a little getting good. This is one of the few bosses in the series I really had to grind to beat, and I still feel like I've hardly come close to mastering it. Every attack could be your demise, requiring you to be on your A game for the entire bout. This adds a ton of tension and excitement and definitely makes the fight one to remember. Speaking of memorable bosses, we've got AAVA. I love the potential for this fight to be an instinctual battle if you're willing to take on the invisible version. As a visible boss though, AAVA is still quite impressive. Similar to the WATCHDOG, AAVA is rather aggressive and has a wide arsenal to keep you on your toes from afar or up close. Where the kitty becomes a bit questionable are the hitboxes and lore, though to be fair, those hitboxes can largely be chalked up to Dark Souls 2 as a whole, so I remember this fight more for its enjoyment rather than its frustrations. But shit, if there's a fight in Dark Souls 2 that felt well designed but frustrated the hell out of me, it's DARKLURKER. I wish I could point out how so-and-so attack is flawed, but I really can't. The only thing I could say is that I think it's a bit off how much damage some attacks deal, but even then it is an endgame boss after all. The truth is I just had a lot of struggles dodging in this fight and it led to a lot of deaths for me. Then you have to drudge all the way back through the Dark Diver locations to reach it again. What a pain. Boy did I feel damn accomplished when I finally overcame the duo though, and I'm sure many of you felt the same. I've been waiting a while to finally talk about this one. YHORM is a fight I feel gets way too much of a bad rap. He was ranked the 4th worst boss in the Dark Souls 3 community rankings, and he received just as much hate in the comments section from many viewers. I could not disagree more because I think this fight is a perfect example of an epic set piece done right. Sure, it's easy as hell and I did dock points for that, but the way I lit up when I saw the Storm Ruler next to his throne was a moment to remember for me, and the following dance with the giant to charge the blade was a lot of fun in its own right. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Sigurd can also join the fray with you in the bittersweet ending to his arc. Everything about this fight screams fun for me. There's been a few who've questioned why fun is so important to me in these rankings, but it's because when I think back on games and how they impacted me, what I remember best are the emotional reactions they were able to elicit. I feel like the memories you associate with a highly positive or negative emotion stand out so much more sharply. That's why bosses like the Beta Chaos, despite being such a terrible experience, are so damn unforgettable. And I believe FromSoft deserves major props for putting together an incredible battle that was a perfect balance of fan service and fun. Speaking of fan service, well, I guess it's not fan service, but when you've spent the last few hours tearing your eyes out from the misery that is Blight Town, dat waifu sure is a sight for sore eyes. The fight itself is no slouch either. My only complaint is that it's so easy to get behind her and abuse that angle for an easy win, and that is kind of a big knock. But when I faced her back in the day, she kicked my ass quite a few times, so she's a perfect challenge for a new player. Oh, and you know why she's so hostile to you? She's protecting her sister. Yeah, that's right, you slaughter a woman who's in desperation mode to protect her frail sibling from danger. You monster! Ah well, Belle's gotta be wrong, you know what I'm saying? Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed checking out today's bosses with me. We've definitely entered the territory where complaints are getting minimal and the praise is only gonna get louder. Be sure to let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, and if you're new here, I encourage you to subscribe for more great Blood Souls content. If you haven't checked out my thanks for 60,000 subscribers, let me say once more thanks to each and every one of you for all of your support. I'll be getting to work putting together the Q&A response tomorrow, so click the video if you want to comment at me with a question of your own. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.